In this concept video, we're going to be discussing periodic functions. I've written some notes here, and so take the time if you need to write these down. Pause the video. Periodicity is just the fact that y values of a function repeat over an interval of x values. If those y values don't repeat over an interval of x values, then the function is not periodic. Also, down here on the left-hand side, the period is the distance it takes for the y values to repeat. Let's take a look at this first example right here. It appears that the y values repeat. Here we have 0 for a y value. Here we have 1, back to 0, back to 1, back to 0, back to 1 for y values. The given interval, or at least the interval over which those values repeat, appears to be from 0 to 2 and 2 to 4, or negative 2 to 0, or negative 4 to negative 2. Remember that the period is the distance it takes the y values to repeat. So this distance right here is 2. You'll note that the distance is the same. An alternative way of seeing what the period is to pick maybe a peak. So this peak right here, the y values go down, then back up to the same peak, then go down, then back up. The distance from 1 to 3 is still 2. So no matter which way you see it, the period of this function is 2. Let's look at the other example here on the right hand side. I'm going to move the page slightly so that you can see this a little bit better. This looks like one of those greatest integer functions, and also known as a step function. So if we take a look at this graph, we'll notice that we see the same shape repeated, but that's not good enough for our definition of periodicity. I'll move that back down for you. Periodicity means that the y values of a function repeat over an interval of x values. Here, we went from 1 to 0, back to 1 to 0, back to 1. You'll notice that in this example, we're not doing that. Here the y value is 0, here it's 1, here it's 1, here it's 2, here it's 2, here it's 3, here it's 3, here it's 4, and so on and so forth. So this function is not periodic. Even though the same shape looks like it repeats, this little line here, notice how the y values do not repeat. If you had a function that was maybe like this, where you had one down here, then one up here, then one down here, then one down here, that would be okay. But here the y values don't repeat.